Greetings, all! Today, we will be examining the exceptionally rare Fire-type Pokemon Scorbunny, its equally rare evolution Raboot, the two collectively known as the Rabbit Pokémon, and the equally rare final evolution Cinderace, the striking Pokemon. Though they might start out rather cute and cuddly, the members of the Scorbunny family can be raised into champion brawlers, more than able to use a trick or two to outperform any competition.
Scorbunny have humanoid frames covered mostly in soft white fur with a small bob tail, 3-digit hands and feet with dark orange toes, and an orange pad on the bottom of their feet, the neck having red markings around its sides. They have a pair of white hair tufts on each cheek with red eyes, a large orange patch between their eyes, and a single large incisor in their mouth, and the head is crowned with a pair of large ears with orange insides, dark orange ends, and a band of light orange about midway down their ears. Their evolved form, Raboot, are covered from the upper torso to the toes in a thick black jacket of fur with a puff of fur on their stomach area, having red feet with black heels and a small spot of yellow fur on the soles of their feet. Their upper torso and arms are covered in a jacket of red fur with long grey ears that flop downward, their head having a series of 3 fluffy quill-like structures on top, while their small nose and a large yellow curved stripe help to highlight their bright eyes, their mouths hidden beneath their body's thick fur. Their final evolution, Cinderace, have dark orange fur covering their upper legs, toes, and a large crest on their forehead, while their lower legs and torso are covered in dark blue fur with 3 yellow spots on the bottom of each foot and white fur that covers their 2-part fringed tail, face, cheek fluff, and ears. They also have yellow fur at their knees for flair, as well as yellow marks along the side of their thighs and the inside of their ears, further possessing yellow and blue crest markings on their face that nicely frame their brilliant eyes. Lastly, it is noted that these creatures have access to a Gigantamax form, and in this state, these beasts' ears grow tremendously long, and while the overall physical form doesn't change much otherwise, they are always standing on a giant pyro ball while Gigantamaxed, which they use for direct attack.
Scorbunny and their evolutions are a bit different from other Fire-type Pokemon in their skewed gender ratio of 7 to 1 in favor of males, but much more exclusively in that they derive their Fire-type powers directly from kinetic energy.
These creatures have a specialized muscular system that takes the heat generated from motion and kinetic energy and store it inside of themselves, additionally using a special film that traps this heat and amplifies it by using it to stimulate their muscles, creating stress in the tissue and the release of more heat as the creatures effectively cook themselves internally. Their bodies are heat resistant on the inside, however, so this does no harm to the creatures themselves in the slightest. Instead, they take this stored heat and use it to ignite flammable chemicals in their skin and their mouths in order to produce extreme heat and fire, though at an early stage of development, they are unable to use their powers much physically, only getting access to a weak ember attack before evolution. This doesn't seem to deter them all that much, however, as these creatures are still able to pack a decent punch with their attacks, and are naturally quite energetic by nature, which makes sense as they're unable to charge their fire-type powers unless they are constantly moving to begin with. On this note, Raboot differ from their pre-evolved form in the fact that they are covered in a thick, fluffy jacket of fur that sits on their frame snugly, as if they were wearing actual clothes. This fur serves 2 main purposes for them. On the one hand, it is designed to help insulate them against the cold, so even if they are low in heat and can't adequately build up more on their own, they have a way to protect against the cold and bitter winters that often plague parts of the lands they are native to. On the other hand, by virtue of this first point, this jacket of fur helps to insulate heat tremendously and thus allows them to build up more fiery energy by storing it inside of this fur, amplifying the power of their fire-type attacks and allowing them to more adequately use attacks like Flame Charge. Cinderace only continue this trend and are able to make good use of their fiery powers to not only literally run circles around opponents, but also in turn leave a flaming trail behind them, sure to catch the attention of anyone that spots them. This all culminates in their close association with their fiery powers at a mental level, granting them access to Blaze as their only base ability. However, it is also noted that certain members of this family can also display a genetic anomaly that alters the way in which they use their attacks such that their mental state can change to the point where they respond during the execution of attack and any moves that follow it as if they were the same type of the move they just used, manifesting as their hidden ability Libero. As far as their stats are concerned, in the case of Cinderace, it can be seen that these fleet-footed mammals don't have much in the way of defenses or special powers, and their stamina isn't the greatest, so most of the base stats are below average for fully evolved Fire-type Pokemon. However, they make up for this with considerable physical strength and exceptional agility, the base attack and speed stats being above average for fully evolved Pokemon of their type, and thus giving them a decent edge in close quarters conflicts. Since their fire-type powers are directly connected to their motion, Scorbunny often have trouble using their attacks right at the start of a confrontation, as they need time to power up their forms. As such, they usually start by doing a warm-up run around their opponent, using their agility to dodge their opponent's attacks the best they can before they are fully charged up and the fiery energy that fuels them is coursing through their entire body. It is usually pretty easy to tell when this is occurring, as there are special pads on the backs of their feet and on their nose that serve as an indicator for this, radiating tremendous heat when the entirety of their body is fully charged. This can make coming into direct contact with them a bit risky for humans, so caution is recommended when trying to make direct contact with them when they are charged up. As one might imagine, this also has the effect of accelerating their body movements to a certain degree, and thus helps them to become better, more agile battlers the more the heat has charged them up, and thus is wholly necessary to ensure they are at their best and ready to go no matter what the circumstances might be. The fact that this intense heat radiates from the outside in grants them a surprising resilience against water-type attacks in terms of retaining their fiery power and not getting easily doused, which helps to give these young rabbits an edge and ultimately make them far more effective fighters than they might initially appear to be.
While Scorbunny are content to just run around wildly in order to charge and store up energy, Raboot are a bit more tactical in the way they store their power, in that they actually prefer to build their kicking skills while charging up their powers.
Raboot naturally take a more athletic approach to their actions in battle in preparation for evolution, and in particular, seem to be quite skilled at using their legs to juggle objects in the air. They can often be seen doing this in the wild by kicking berries off of branches and lightly juggling them with their feet to practice their footwork, gradually getting better as they approach the point of evolution. The techniques that they practice and specialize in are often studied and copied by soccer or football players as a way to improve their game, and it is not uncommon to find such sports players and these Pokemon training alongside one another. This won't come into play much from a combat perspective for some time, but in the meantime these activities help to keep these rabbits fit and healthy, and it boosts their control over the muscles and in turn their fire-type powers over time, so it is a worthy investment to make, even if that means practicing alongside them to make sure they are developing properly and are able to use their fancy footwork to the utmost. When Raboot manage to evolve, they become capable of taking small stones and, supercharging the heat in their bodies outwards, coating the pebble in layers upon layers of fiery energy as they juggle it between their feet and other parts of their body. This produces a fiery projectile that acts as one of their signature moves, the Pyro Ball attack, and is extremely powerful for an attack learned naturally by a starter Pokemon, dealing immense damage once it is kicked at the opposition and potentially scorching them and leaving them with a nasty burn. This attack serves as the crowning glory of their attack repertoire and is accessible to them immediately after evolution, making it a deadly attack to have to face. The only downside to it is that it takes a while to prepare, and thus is not always the most accurate of attacks, but when it is done correctly, it can deal some serious damage and prove to be a move that many opponents will fear having to face in a fight. When these rabbits are not busy blasting Pyro Ball attacks at their opponent, or using their impressive footwork to run circles around them though, these creatures enjoy using their skills to put on a show for others just to demonstrate how good they are, and they are not without their merit. Like any good soccer or football player, these rabbits are skilled at both offense and defense, and are able to make use of their speed to make themselves look special and like exceptional athletes, even going so far as to be able to readily manipulate any and all arena hazards on one side of the field onto the other without getting affected by them, as part of the signature court change technique.
Moreover, these creatures love attention, and they can easily get pumped up if they have a crowd of people cheering them on, giving them the morale boost they need to make a serious impact in a fight.
However, it is noted that this kind of activity can also get to their head and lead them to start showboating as they battle. While this might not always be a huge concern, it can lead them to not focus as intently on their opponent and the battle itself as much as would be liked, which can put them in a tough spot if an opponent can find a way to trip them up or otherwise get them when their guard is down. As such, it is highly recommended that trainers make sure to keep their Cinderace's ego on a leash, lest they end up doing something more showy than effective and place themselves into a tight bind they might not be able to easily escape from.
It is lastly noted that Cinderace is one of only a limited number of Pokemon capable of undergoing the process of Gigantamaxing, with specific members of this species taking on a unique form when they are Dynamaxed in battle.
In this state, as their ears grow incredibly long, the kicking power of these creatures increases dramatically, giving them the strongest legs in the entirety of the Pokemon world and allowing them to deliver blows that can overwhelm even other Dynamaxed Pokemon. Most of the time, however, they put this power to use in kicking around the massive Pyro Ball they stand on that is energized with Dynamax energy. If these creatures are able to use their full power to strike this object with their best techniques, their very fighting spirit will possess it and cause the ball to pursue the opposition as if it had a mind of its own. While this might only be a temporary state for them, the immense power that flows through them while in the state allows Cinderace to utilize a unique G-Max move known as G-Max Fireball, which involves them using their kicking power to strike their giant Pyro Ball towards an opponent, causing it to explode upon impact with enough force to completely ignore their ability when they are hit, and in turn allow these monsters to use their Dynamax power to the fullest, to blast through even those with protective abilities on their side that might otherwise prevent damage from fire-type attacks.
The members of the Scorbunny family do a great job of being both adorable and quite powerful despite their fluffy, fun-looking forms. Scorbunny are great for starters, as they always have an upbeat and energetic attitude to them, always looking for a bit of adventure and a good runway or two to really get their feet moving. Raboot to me just look utterly adorable with their fluffy jacket wear, and even if it is just natural for them, it doesn't take away how they look like young children that just got dressed by their parents so they won't get cold outside. And Cinderace are always a joy to watch when at their prime and in the groove, zipping this way and that on the battlefield and delivering some seriously powerful kicks with their signature moves and skills. It's not often that you get this sort of family where the kind of energy you'd expect to see in a toddler is always present, that sense of never-ending fun plastered in their minds and in their hearts. The fact that they even get a Gigantamax form that really lets them show off their sheer kicking power is the cherry on top and more than makes them great contenders in a fight. So long as their major type weaknesses and their middling defenses can be accounted for, these rabbits can certainly bring the heat and more than light up a crowd, though hopefully for their sake, not literally.
Bundles of energy right from the get-go, and more than a warm friend on any day, the members of the Scorbunny family are potent mammals that can make themselves into a fiery threat when push comes to shove. Finding one of these rabbits can be a difficult task, but for those lucky enough to do so, they can definitely prove to be loyal friends and fighters worth relying on.
Just do yourself a favor though, and be sure to wear fire-retarding gear if you plan on training with them. They might be able to easily outdo you with their fiery skills and moves, but you'll likely be worrying about other things if they decide to kick a loaded fireball at you for fun, only for you to really feel the heat where you likely would least enjoy it.
Thank you for watching this video. It brings me great joy to be able to speak to you all in the world each and every time we meet like this, to explore the many different facets of both the world of Pokemon as we know it, and the world as we live it, through every adventure we have with Pokemon by our side. If you'd like to, please subscribe, ring the bell and all that jazz, to keep yourself updated on content uploads and other materials of the like. You can also follow me on Twitter if you'd like to know right away when something new is uploaded, and my written works, from which most of this is based on, can be found on DeviantArt. Links to both can be found in the description down below. Remember that the world of Pokemon is a place full of wonder and mystery, and you never know what to expect. So, stay vigilant, keep watch, and always be prepared for the unexpected. Until next time, trainers and friends of all sorts, have a wonderful time.